Now let's take a look at last weekend's fundraiser for the area food bank, featuring Music for Your Mom from the area artists. Let's roll tape.
Does anyone know what the first song they played was? If you can guess the name of that first song, we'll give you 2 cans of Campbell's soup right out of the box out there. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have another extraordinary musician joining the stage over here. In addition to the bell choir, a very talented young man. His name is Dan Wittenberg. That's B-U-R-G, not to be confused with the B-E-R-G Swedes who live across the river. So anyway, I just wanted to make that clear. And Dan, he's pretty insistent on that B-U-R-G. So in his Christmas cards, please correct your spelling if you haven't done so already. Dan is featured trumpet tonight, and he's going to be performing with the bell choir, and I turn it over to them for a beautiful number called Jubilation. Let's give all the performers a nice round of applause.
You know, I have something to say concerning foreign policy and freedom of speech. There are appropriate forms of free speech and inappropriate. Some resort to peaceable assembly, some use publications, some vandalize government property, which I don't condone, unless the government has become tyrannical and is not acting in the best interests of its people, as Jefferson stated. Luckily, there are no longer tyrants in office. But let's look at a hypothetical situation. What would you think of a man who not only kept an arsenal in his home, but was also collecting at enormous financial sacrifice a second arsenal to protect the first one?
Well, maybe he should quit buying so many guns and maybe think about saving some money.
And what would you say if this man so frightened his neighbors that they in turn were collecting weapons to protect themselves from him? What if this man spent 10 times as much money on his expensive weapons as he did on the education of his children? And what if one of his children criticized his hobby, and he called that child a bum and a traitor and disowned him?
Wait a minute. You mean calling a child names and disowning it merely because the child disagrees with you?
And he took another child who had always obeyed him faithfully and armed that child and sent it out into the world to attack neighbors. What would you say about a man who introduces poisons into the water he drinks and the air he breathes? What if this man not only is feuding with the people on his block, but involves himself with the quarrels of others in distant parts of the city and even the suburbs?
Well, I think that he ought to mind his own business and maybe take care of the affairs in his own household.
Well, such a man would clearly be a paranoid schizophrenic with homicidal tendencies. Such a man should be on trial. Through our modern enlightened system of jurisprudence, we would attempt to cure and rehabilitate him rather than merely punish. I would dismiss cases of destruction of public property by its citizens on several grounds. The state is clinically insane as a corporate entity and is absolutely unfit to arrest, try, and incarcerate those who disagree with its policies. I also rule that the right to destroy government property is protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Government property belongs to all the people, and the right of any of the people to express displeasure with their government by destroying government property is precious and shall not be infringed. You see, the state does not exist as a person or a thing it exists. It's a legal fiction. A fiction is a form of communication. Anything owned by a form of communication must also thereby be a form of communication. That gives you a little to think about as you yahoos out there take pot shots at the state-owned street signs and mailboxes. Do you really have a cause? Or are you just out wasting ammo and tax money?
Are you one of those people that puts hay on your muddy or slippery walkways in the cold season?
Why, yes I am.
Hay is a very inexpensive solution for creating traction on frozen ground where there is heavy foot traffic. It can save you from a nasty fall and soak up sitting water. The many uses of hay outdoors is an altruism. We have all been able to depend on hay here in Montana.
Yes, it has been.
But according to a bill on the floor of our Senate, you may have to find other ways to unslickify your sidewalks.
How do you mean?
Well, Senate Bill 202, co-introduced by Senator Greg Hinkle, will ban the feeding and luring of wildlife with a misdemeanor. Such items as bird feeders, salt licks, and even hay could get you a hefty fine if they are luring ungulates, causing them to cluster.
Clustering ungulates.
That's right, clustering ungulates. Deer, elk, and antelope tend to congregate to an area where there is food readily available throughout the winter. I guess this annoys lawmakers.
Well, wait, aren't lawmakers concerned about wolves, cats, and bears coming into our communities, taking our children, eating our livestock?
Yes, they are.
Well, if we start starving our ungulates, who had an exceptionally rough winter already, won't their natural predators logically start moving closer to us where there is food?
I guess.
And if the goal is not to feed them to prevent clustering, why are we clear-cutting the shoulders of the Blue Slide Road?
Well, so that the drivers can see the deer easier and not be surprised by them.
Well, won't clear-cutting that area just cause more ungulate food to grow, causing them to cluster near where we drive?
You know, I suppose.
Well, this is all just silly. The purposes of our laws seem to just move in circles, creating needless problems to solve. Illegal bird feeders? Really?
Yeah, I guess this all does seem kind of silly when you get right down to it. I mean, hunting is huge for our tourism industry and a way of life for many. I've got deer on my property and I keep them fed well all year long. I'll be a happy hunter that season. If they can't be hand-fed, what will all the tourists take pictures of when they come here?
We gotta keep this stock in stock for hunting season. Man's been feeding deer forever. Haven't you seen Snow White?
So what can we do about it?
Well, the Amber Bear Inn has invited Senator Greg Hinkle to speak after a dinner at 5 p.m. Friday, May 15th. The dinner is moderately priced per plate. Your appetite, opinions, and questions are invited. For event details and a summary of questions for the senator, go to amberbearin.com.
Well, that's all we have for this edition of the Broken News. Thank you for watching. Again, we'd like to say word to your mother and Happy Mother's Day. Love you, Mom.